Hi, my name is Nora. I'm a compulsive eater. I'm abstinent. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the clarified gray sheet, nothing in between but black coffee, tea, or approved liquids. And my abstinence date is July 24th, 1977. Good to see everybody today. Good to see some old friends I haven't seen in a long time. I was quite desperate when I got abstinent. I'm 4'11". I was over 183 pounds. I was losing some hair. Later, I realized it was from bulimia. My teeth were loose in my mouth. I had wounds all over my arms and legs and my face, which was difficult from self-mutilation. I was teaching high school at the time. I had been at that school for 2 years, 3 years, something like that. It was really difficult standing in front of a classroom of teenagers all day long, not only obese, but also with all these wounds everywhere. I saw in the New York Times yesterday, some comedian, people are complaining about him and saying what he said was inappropriate. He said, "I don't know why that actress was self-harming. She's so irritating. Surely she could have found someone else to do it." I definitely could have found someone else to harm me in those days. And I did, as a matter of fact. By the time I came to this program, I had made a huge number of choices in my life that were dysfunctional. For a while in my early abstinence, I thought the choice of my job was one of them. But then I began to realize that I had difficulty with every job. I had quite a few jobs before I started teaching waitressing. I was a tour guide at a hotel one summer. I ran a real estate office. I had a lot of jobs. I was really irritating in all of them because I was really discontent myself, and because I was constantly in the process of defending myself against what I thought were people's reactions to me, to my behavior. I did a lot of things before I got abstinent to try to control what I thought was my primary problem, which was my weight. I was desperate to lose weight. And so I did a lot of those. There were a lot of diets in those days. We could eat huge amounts of something as long as you didn't eat these other things. And Weight Watchers was like that in those days too. There were things you could eat all day long in vegetables, those Chinese vegetables in a can. I went through a lot of rigmarole in my dieting days, and wherever I went, I carried unflavored gelatin in my blender and food coloring to make the white cruciferous vegetable looks like a brain when it's raw. I would eat that frozen with all this food coloring in it and all these sweeteners in it to make it look. I brought that and ate it in the teacher's room every day at my school for lunch, because I really thought whatever was going to help me would be something that would fill me up so much that I wouldn't be hungry. And I learned a couple of things about hunger when I got abstinent. One thing I learned is, as a compulsive eater, my appetite is broken. I do not know what is hunger and what is not hunger. And I have very rarely experienced anything anyone would call hunger in the 46.5 years that I've been abstinent. I've had a few surgeries over the years, and before surgery, you don't eat. And at least in the US, if you're scheduled for surgery, which I'm thinking about this now because I'm having my knee replaced on March 5th, they don't tell you till the previous day what time your surgery is going to be, but they do tell you no food after midnight. And then, you work it out with your sponsor depending upon what kind of surgery it is. But it's not unusual for an abstinent gray sheeter to be having a surgery and have to go till 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 p.m. Before being able to eat a meal by the time you have the surgery and you come out of the anesthesia. And I really have not experienced hunger at those times. And I don't remember experiencing hunger when I had a bunch of tissue removed from the roof of my mouth and sutured onto my lower gum line because I had such bad gum recession. I don't remember being hungry. I had to suddenly eat GreySheet soft. I blended everything. That went on for quite a while because there were some problems. Everything started bleeding. It's all over the dam now. Now it's just another, oh, I survived that. I finessed that and I was abstinent. So to get back to the beginning of my story, so I got abstinent and I got sober at the same time because I'm also a recovering alcoholic. And I stopped using pills at the same time. And in the beginning, and I don't know how long this went on, it could have been like 4, 5, 6 years. I took no pain medication at all, even over-the-counter pain, non-prescription pain medication. No Excedrin, no aspirin, no Advil, none of those things, because I just didn't think I could handle anything without it breaking my abstinence and breaking my sobriety. I lost my train of thought there. And it took me a long time to lose the weight that I needed to lose, because I had a lot of compulsive eater ideas about my food, that I was really afraid of being hungry. I was really afraid of really didn't want to have feelings. And I was, from a very early age, trained by whatever genes I was born with and my crazy parents to use food to deal with whatever feelings I was having. So not using food, my first thought, which was a thought of many GreySheeters in the early days, and still is to a large extent, was that if I got the biggest fruits in Massachusetts, I was in Massachusetts at the time, and if I ate really greasy and heavy, then I wouldn't be hungry and everything would be fine and I would stay abstinent. And that works just fine if you're a man and you're 6'3" and you play basketball, no problem. But if you're a little shrimp like me, it doesn't work so well. So to lose the first like 60 pounds took me, I don't know how many years, 3 years, 4 years, something like that. And so in my abstinence, I've had plenty of time to look at my abnormal choices in life, and to look at the various permutations of self-harm, which for me were myriad. And well, some of the things that seemed like self-harm also were a lot of fun. Like fairly early in my abstinence, I started running long distance, and it's not easy to run year round in Massachusetts, when you've got like 5 feet of snow on the ground and it's below zero out there. And I was never very good at running. In fact, about 4 or 5 years into my running, the podiatrist said to me, Nora, if you get frostbite in your feet one more time, we're going to have to amputate a few toes. So anyway, I started running long distance. I did triathlon for a while. I was out there running by myself in the pitch dark, 5 o'clock in the morning, because I had to be in my classroom at 7. Our high school started at a really early time. And with mace in one hand and halt in the other hand. Mace is for the people, halt was for the attack dogs. There really weren't any, but I expected them. And then at one point, early on in my absence, about 7 years in, I had a huge arm surgery. It wasn't a carpal tunnel thing. It was I had a rare bone disease, eventually diagnosed properly, called pine box disease. So anyway, the surgeon put me in a cast up to my armpit and left me in the cast for 8 months. I think it was because he knew I was going to get back in the pool if I wasn't in the cast. And I continued running. In the winter in Massachusetts, I had to decide, was I going to carry the mace or was I going to carry the halt? Because the hand that had the cast on it, I had to just keep it warm. Anyway, long story short, I did a million things I shouldn't have done. Chose 20 or 30 boyfriends I shouldn't have chosen. the lowest bottom addicts in my AA group, because I thought this guy got such a bad story. He's going to stay sober forever. This person is never going to drink and drug again. And so I'm going to attach myself to him, only that didn't turn out too well. So anyway, life is long. And while I was being abstinent, I had to navigate just like everybody else does, who to befriend, who to sponsor, who to be sponsored by, who to talk to, because I don't know how other people do it in the program, but the way I work my program is I have to have some people who I can actually talk to. What bothers me, what hurts me, what gives me joy. And unfortunately, one of those people died 2 weeks ago, my friend Nan, because I could always call her and actually talk to her about what was going on, and she could call me and talk to me about what was going on. She called me one time, she said her husband is also in recovery and also very compulsive, like I am, like Nan was. And said, I went away for a week and visited my kids, and when I came back, my husband had taken my entire clothes closet and rearranged it. She was furious, absolutely furious. And what did I say when she told me that? I didn't preach to her about the big book. I didn't tell her to go to Al-Anon meetings. I talked to her about what happened and how she was feeling, and I asked her what she was having for lunch. So anyway, my friend Nan died. She had congestive heart failure. It was pretty bad. And it was a shock, even though a lot of us realized that she was very, very sick. And the first thing that happened after she died is I started thinking what a crappy friend I was. I could have had more phone conversations with her. I could have not, thank you, Catherine, I could have not argued with her so much because we often clashed. Nora, you gonna lock that Monday meeting when the meeting starts? No, you should leave it open. You know, there were a million things like that. Anyway, what I realized about it in this moment, we had a memorial for her yesterday. There were about 65 people there. And what I realized is we're all just humans showing love to each other. And I learned in my recovery to appreciate that. Appreciate when someone wants to love me in the limited, flawed way that they can. Not necessarily because they're recovering compulsive eaters or recovering alcoholics, but just because they're human beings. And anyway, I was abstinent and sober for 20 years, no, 26 years. And then I met a really great guy who's my husband today, a really smart, sweet guy who's the best Scrabble player in the world, except for Nan, and bikes with me and does body pump with me and cleans the kitchen every night because he says I'm not good enough at it, so he has to do it. And my life started to really, really turn around then. I went from being a poor, recovering addict living in a basement apartment and bouncing checks all over town to being a free rich girl living in England with a great guy. And life's been really good since then. Not perfect. There's a lot of things to deal with, but very beautiful because I learned to stay out of my own way. And that was like, of all my problems, the biggest part of my problems was me getting in my own way. That's what I learned from the steps. If you're pointing a finger at somebody else, all the other fingers are pointing, well, maybe except for the thumb, are pointing back at you. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today, and I pass.